I'm Jeff Williams, and there's a thing out there today where everybody wants to know if the state of Israel is the same Israel that was in the Bible. And I can show that it is. In the scripture that we saw, we see Ezekiel symbolizing God punishing Israel for 430 years. And you have to know something about Jewish prophecy and how each day counts as a year to know that. But you have 430 years of misery and discomfort for Israel because they turned away from God. And Ezekiel told them that this would happen. So we have to do a little math to get to the point of finding out what the prophecies say. So we saw 390 days of punishment for Israel and then 40 more for Judah. So for the whole thing we had a total of 430 days of punishment, which in prophetic time means 430 years of discomfort, as if you were lying on your side for that amount of time. The first 70 of that they spent in Babylon when the Babylonians drug Israel into exile and they were taken out of their land. Well, that leaves, by math, 360 years of punishment left. So we see that God tells Israel if they don't listen to him the first time, after he punishes them, then he'll multiply their punishment by 7. He didn't listen, or they didn't listen the first time. After he brought them back to their land, they turned away eventually again. So now, by some simple math, God says, well, I'll multiply your punishment times 7. They had 360 years left of punishment. So when God multiplies that by 7, well now, since they didn't listen, they have 2,520 years of punishment. This punishment, according to the law of Moses, means they will either be out of their land, taken captive by other countries and made to serve foreign kings, or they'll be in their land and ruled over by others in which their land is not their own. But this doesn't work for us because this is in Jewish years. The Jewish year, according to the Bible, is exactly 360 days, no 365. So this is the perfect set of years from God's calendar. We have to turn it into our calendar. Well, we have 365.25 days a year. They have 360 days a year. So to change this, we can agree, us and the Jews, that a day is 24 hours. So we're going to take this and we're going to turn it into days so that we can turn it into this. So you take 2,520 years times 360 days in each year, and we have 907,200 days of punishment left for Israel before they get their land back and be in charge of their own land. Now, we have to divide this by our year, which is 365.25 days, to find out how many years this is on our calendar. On ours, it's almost the same. It's 2,483.77 years of punishment that Israel would have left when it was multiplied by 7 because they didn't listen and turn back away. So this is how much punishment on our calendar Israel is going to have left. So to figure out when this would end, the expulsion out of their land into Babylon ended whenever they were brought back from Babylon, and that was in the year 536 BC. This is when they got to come back. So at this point, they had 360 years left of punishment, but when God multiplied it by 7, they had 2,483.77 years. This is September, so if we round it up to 2,484 years on our calendar, then you have to figure out from 536, when did you get to 2,484 years? When you do the math, you have 536 BC Then you have somewhere the year 0, which never really existed. And then you have 2,484 years later. So you subtract this part from this. So you have 2,484 years minus 536 of them, which were taken care of in BC. And the answer you get is 1948. And that is when Israel was brought back to their land in 1948. So this proves by the word of Ezekiel that God brought his people, his same people, back to their land in 1948, just like he said he would way back when.